We've got a pretty good amount of items to bring you up to date on, so we're excited about that. We also have a special guest speaker today. I'm trying to roll out some new faces, and you don't just have to listen to me every single one. So grateful to have everybody here today, and I always appreciate the buzz and the connections that are being made, as that's part of our community and why we're here. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to let David come up and open us up with prayer, and then we'll jump into the meeting.
Buzz. Okay. All right, let's go to Lord. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you always for our time together. We're grateful for the relationships that we share and for the opportunities for growth and service that are afforded to us here at Rolling Green Village. And we thank you for times like this during which there's a meaningful exchange of information about current and future matters of interest. As we express thanks for all who are gathered, we do want to be mindful of those who are not numbered among us right now. There are some who are not here out of a lack of interest, and so help us to engage them with our own appreciation of and enthusiasm for life here at Rolling Green. There are some who are absent because they face challenges of transportation or mobility. So encourage us as we interface with them in the days to come that we'll share with them what we have learned here today. For others with issues, more pressing issues of health, we pray for the healing of body, mind, and or spirit, until such time as they're able to be with us again. In recent weeks, Lord, in these hallways, we have hosted a lot of people from the larger community who have come on several occasions now to cast votes at our polling station. This makes us mindful of both our civic and moral duty to set aside self-interest and to choose those who can lead out of a commitment to the common good rather than their own benefit. May we help to raise up leaders with a heart for the common good of all who live and work in our land, even and perhaps especially those that Jesus identified as the least among us, the marginalized, those without the privilege that so many of us enjoy. And as history marches on, the measure of our society will be determined not just by the strength and influence that we have on the world stage, but also on the practice of decency and fairness and generosity, on our ability not just to help, but to lift up the needy, and whether we can place a check on the increasingly tragic gap between the haves and the have-nots. Lord, we know that we can do better than we are right now. And this community here at Rolling Green is living proof of that, because in this place, in this community, we have a wonderful spirit of solidarity, a spirit of mutual helpfulness, where we watch out for one another and we care for one another. Lord, this is something that we would love to be contagious and that would spread not just throughout Rolling Green, but throughout Greenville, South Carolina, and on beyond. So Lord, help us to do whatever it takes, whether in our own personal actions, whether in the choices, the votes that we make in days to come. But our prayer would be that the decisions that we make would be ones that align with your aspirations of who you want us to be as individuals, as a community, and as a nation, such that it could be said that thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Amen.
Sure if I was first or not. I can't see that far because I don't have my glasses on, which y'all know y'all wouldn't know that I wear glasses because I never wear them here, except for if I have to drive. So I do wear them for that. The first thing I want to talk about is we have OLLI classes starting in September. And for those of you that don't know, OLLI stands for Osho Lifelong Learning Institute, and it's through Furman University. And it was created to provide classes for senior adults and social activities for them in our area. But they do have classes here, and this semester we will be having 7 classes and 1 bonus event. So Allison, who works with OLLI, she's going to come out next week, August the 18th at 10 o'clock in here, and she's going to do a little OLLI info session. She's going to just tell you about the classes that we have here, answer any questions you may have. She's going to show you how to register. So I know some people have trouble registering, and then she's available for questions afterwards if you have any additional. Registration starts August the 20th. And so Allison has also said that she will be here on August the 20th from 4:30 to 6 in the evening up in the Commons across from the dining room to help anyone sign up if they need help doing that. And she's able to take payment as well if you wanted to give that to her then. So they're wanting to try to provide some more opportunities for y'all because you know, we know that when you sign up for classes here, you don't always get all of the benefits. So we're trying to provide more things for residents here who take classes. And then finally, having to do with Ollie, we're looking to try to take a bus on some Fridays to the bonus events. Okay, not to classes, because we wouldn't be able to do that. Because trying to decide what classes everybody wants to go to, and you have to go to the same class and all of that, it'd be too hard. But we're looking at taking a bus to a couple of bonus events on Fridays over to Furman at the Herring Center. And you would still have to register. You'd have to be an Ollie member, and you would have to register through Ollie for the bonus event. And then you would register on the portal for the bus, for your seat on the bus. But look, I don't know which ones yet, so just look for more details on that. I've made a decision to make a little change, and we're just going to try it for a couple weeks and see how it goes. When trips open, you know, they open on Mondays, usually new trips, and they're usually open at midnight. And people are waking up at midnight or getting up and trying to sign up, and then for whatever reason the registration button's not there, or you know, or whatever. So I've made a decision to, just for a trial basis, see how it goes. When trips open on Mondays, they will open at noon. Okay? So that way, if you have trouble registering for something, or if there's issues or whatever, you can call us, because we will be here. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if anybody will have any objections to that, because some people are used to getting up at midnight, or they stay up, or whatever. But I just felt like that was getting a little ridiculous. So anyway, there's 6 trips opening on Monday, and they will all open at noon. So look for that. And then the last thing I just want to talk about is moving forward. I know there's been some discussion about this, and we didn't know. Residents have been asking us. But moving forward, we will not have the donation room. And the reason for that is because we have very limited space for offices, for storage, or whatever. So Stan and I are coming up with a plan to where you can still donate your items to Miracle Hill. It just would not be through the donation room. So once we figure out what that is, and we have an idea, but I just want to make sure we finalize it, we will let you know. But you will still have an opportunity to donate your things here, and then we would take them to Miracle Hill. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about anything having to do with my department? Yes.
The 6 that are opening up Monday, where are they published now?
It'll be in your highlights. So you look on your highlights. It'll tell you. They're not on the portal now. They're opening on Monday. So you'll have to wait till Monday to see what those are, or in the highlights on Friday when you get it.
They'll be on when?
It's this week's highlights.
This week's highlights.
You'll
Okay.
see it when you get them tomorrow. Anybody else? Questions? No? All right. Thank you. And I have Ollie books up here if you need any, okay? But they're at both front desks as well.
Good afternoon. I have a couple of announcements from charitable giving. The first one is that on July 31st, we had 12 plus 1 or 2 more volunteers fill 61 bags for a 36 kindergarten through 5th graders, 14 6th through 8th graders, and 11 9th through 12th graders. And believe it or not, it was completed, and we're not totally sure it was all correct, but it was completed in 45 minutes. So thank you all that was there. We really do appreciate it. One of the neatest things about this was each child got to select the color of their book bag. A lot of places just give out one color book bag, and the group that we work with, the coordinator asked each child what color book bag, which I thought was pretty special for them to get to select their color. And we had a room full of supplies. Somebody said it was better than going to Walmart. So we want to thank Amy and her staff for helping to coordinate, getting all the supplies in and organized. Now, each bag has cost about $50 to fill. We've raised about $2,100, but we still need about $800 or so to complete the project. So if you haven't donated, that would be great. You can drop the check off to my attention, either at the concierge desk down here or come to my office, okay? The second announcement is about our Alzheimer's Walk 2026. And if you haven't seen these are the t-shirts for this year, and our very own Emily Rossi from Wellness did the design again, and I think she's going to start charging me for a residual to get paid for her design next year, but we'll see. But if you haven't bought one, they'll be available in the morning at the concierge desk down here at the Village Center. And then next week you will be able to sign up for the walk. And the walk is it's on a Sunday this year. It's Sunday, October 4th at 2 p.m. and we'll be doing the bus like we did last year. And also be looking for information in the highlights about the Alzheimer's pancake breakfast. We did that last year and it was a success, and so we're going to do that again this year. And our last announcement, I mentioned this at the last meeting, we have a new fund that the board has approved called the Staff Hardship Fund. And they thought this was such a worthwhile promotion for our staff to have these funds to be able to use in truly a financial hardship, that the board agreed to donate $40,000 out of some unrestricted donated funds that we've had. So I really do appreciate that. I think that was showing a great leap of faith for the board to do that. Now, we formed a committee, and the committee will include the Human Resources Director, the chaplain, and then myself from Charitable Giving. We will also have 2 residents who will be on this committee who have served on charitable giving in the past. There will be an application, there'll be a screening, evaluation process, and then it'll be approval. But it will be designated for only certain hardship needed types of funds. This is not for getting new tires or getting your oil changed, although that's gone up pretty much. It could be considered a hardship if you haven't had your oil changed lately. But we're going to be very specific in this, and we just think it's going to be something really special to help our staff for sure. If you want to donate, you can donate a check to the RGV Staff Hardship Fund. Right now, we're sitting at about almost $48,000 in that fund, which is just wonderful. Are there any questions? Don't forget your t-shirts, because we only ordered 200 and we've already sold almost 100 of them. Okay, thanks.
So I just want to give you guys a little update as to what we are doing occupancy-wise over in the licensed areas. So I'll start with our health center. Today we have 45 out of 48 rooms occupied, so that's 94% occupied, which is really exciting. In terms of rehab, we're down just a little bit. Today it's 16/17 out of 22 rooms. And then in our Cedars Assisted Living, we have 25 out of 28 apartments occupied, so that's at 89%. And then our Evergreen Place Memory Care is fully occupied with 22 out of 22 apartments, which is super exciting to see. And then another thing I want to talk about, which is super exciting, so at the end of July, we had the Department of Public Health come in on July 28th. For their annual survey. So just so you all know, our rehab receives Medicare funds. So we have an annual certification every year. We never know when they're going to come. Very unexpected usually. And they stay for about 3 days. And they do a deep dive into our medical charts, everything that we do. And they decide if they need to issue any citations in those moments. And so it is a lot of work for our team during those 3 days. Very, very busy, but we're happy to say that we have no citations that were given. So that's 3 years in a row, which is so it's super exciting having 3 years in a row deficiency free. It's not easy and it's not very common to have 3 years in a row. So I know Ryan jokes that after 3 years of deficiency free surveys, you have the federal surveyors come in, but we'll handle it. It'll be okay if they do come in. But it's super exciting. It was not just me who was a part of this. It's all of our leadership team, specifically Legree Shemsky. She is our director of nursing over there, so she really took the lead. This was my first survey by myself, so she really was a great mentor in that moment, pulling everything together, communicating with all the staff to be prepared. And then also Danny, she is our assistant director of nursing, so this is her first survey as well in her new role. So very exciting to see them both shine in these moments, and I just want to give a special shout out to them because I would not have been able to do it without them. So, does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
All right, I'm not quite up here yet, but I wanted to introduce Gary Schlansker, the board chair for Rolling Green Village. So in the last couple of years, we've continued to have dialogue between residents and myself about increasing board presence. And this is an opportunity that I created through some collaboration with residents to say, hey, could we have our board chair come talk a little bit about why he serves, but also talk a little bit about what some of the work is that the board is doing to support our community and help us to be the best place to live. So I want to introduce Gary Schlansker.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here. Ryan asked me to just say a word about myself. I'm a native of St. Louis, but proud Greenvillian today. I spent 39 years working for the YMCA. From 1993 to 2003, I was the CEO of the Greenville YMCA. Left here in late 2003 and moved to St. Louis, where I was the CEO of the St. Louis YMCA. One of the 15 largest in the world. The YMCA is in about 120 countries around the globe, and we are a global movement. But 5 grandchildren living in Greenville brought my wife and I back here. And it wasn't a very difficult decision on where we were going to live in retirement. But after I moved back, for the last 6.5 years, I've served on the board here at Rolling Green. I was asked by a friend from church, Doug Harper, who some of you may know. Doug and I were on a committee at church, and he asked me if I would be interested in coming and serving out of Rolling Green. And we had a nice conversation about that. I met with members of the board, and it was something that excited me, an opportunity to serve. I worked with a lot of boards in my career, and I served on a few boards, but an opportunity to serve some others, and it's been a great experience for me. great learning experience to understand a whole lot. My late parents both lived in a long-term care facility, and so I knew that end of it. But to serve on the board has been a great experience. Our board meets quarterly, and we have 3 standing committees: finance, governance, and strategic planning. The finance committee, of course, monitors the month-to-month financials, and we are having a very good financial year in 2026. Haven't seen the July financials yet, but Ryan assures me that I'm going to like them. But we've had a very good year. Of course, the wonderful occupancy that we enjoy here at Rolling Green Village makes a big difference in those financials. So we're in very good shape there. Finance committee also put together for the first time an investment policy for our reserves. And we worked with a volunteer from the community who's worked with a number of institutions, including Furman, the Hollingsworth Fund, the YMCA, and some others. And he helped us put together an investment policy. We put out an RFP, a request for proposals, to a number of firms. We interviewed 3 firms, and in the end, we chose Truist's nonprofit management group to handle the investment of our reserves. So those have been in place now for just about 6 months. I don't think they've all been invested for more than about 2 months or 3 months. It took them a little while to get them invested, but they're now invested in a variety of areas. Very conservative investment policy. Preservation of capital was the most important thing to us, but we are getting a little better return than we were before. We also reviewed the plan for the staff hardship fund, and the board did agree to provide some seed money to get that going. And we know it's important to take good care of the staff and to make sure that they understand they're appreciated. And hardships come along. I've got a little aside. My youngest lives in Nashville, and she works for the Hospital Corporation of America, and she's in their foundation. And for a number of years, her job was what they called the Hope Fund, which was a fund that they put together to help their employees when they had hardships and problems and so forth. Most of her time was spent during the hurricane season because they had many hospitals in Florida, along the Texas and Louisiana coast. And as a result, she was constantly giving away money this time of year to folks who had been impacted by hurricanes that came, destroyed homes, etc. So I have an appreciation for the fact that we're trying to help support the staff. Second committee, governance committee. Governance committee really has 2 major responsibilities. One, the nomination of new board members, the screening of new board members. They have this year brought on 2 new board members. They're in the process of screening a couple of more folks for potentially coming on the board. We've had 3 folks leave the board this year, 2 whose terms have ended. Board members are allowed to have 2 4-year terms, so they can serve a total of 8 years, and then they must roll off the board. So we had 2 people whose terms ended and needed to roll off. Unfortunately, we had 1 board member whose father became very sick in Atlanta, and he needed to roll off to spend time with his father and help take care of him. So we are looking for some new board members, but we did bring on 2 in the meantime. The second part is the board's responsibility to review our policies and procedures and make sure that we are, as an organization, and that the staff is in compliance with our policies. And we are in the process actually of reviewing those. We've had the policies in place for a while, but we realized that nobody ever really reviewed them and looked at them and said, are they current and are they what they should be, and staff actually complying with those. So we are spending some time on that. So, beyond Ryan's day-to-day opportunities, he's now getting a chance to write reports regularly to the board of them explaining how we are in compliance with our policies. The third area of responsibility board committee is the strategic committee. Their number 1 responsibility right now is monitoring all this work of phase 2. And of course, it's going along well. It's within budget, so that's very good news. There have been no delays of any significance. They're on time and on schedule. So we're very pleased with that. And we hope that the contractors will continue to get things finished on time, and that sometime in 2027, some folks will be moving in. One of the most exciting things to me personally is the new assisted living facility that you can see right outside the window here. That will be a great improvement over the current situation. So glad to have that. The second part that they're responsible for is our strategic plan. Our strategic plan expired at the end of 2025. We were right in the middle of all the work around the phase 2. And so after a great discussion among the board, we decided that we were going to stall off a little bit on developing a new strategic plan and make sure we had things in great position for phase 2. And we feel like we've done that. We've started work on the new strategic plan. The board will have a retreat in September with a gentleman named Patrick Jinks, who's a consultant that we're using to help us devise a new strategic plan. Some of you may have been involved. I know Patrick has done a number of small groups, discussions and reviews with people, the current residents, to see what you think needs to go into that strategic plan. He's interviewed with the staff. He's interviewed with some folks who will be new residents coming in the new year. And so all that information will come to the board in September, and hopefully by year end we will have a new strategic plan in place for Rolling Green Village. So it's an active board. We've been busy, and I think we're very pleased with where we are at this point in time as an organization. I'd be glad to take any questions if anybody has any. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a list somewhere of who's on the board? All the board members?
Yeah, it's actually on the website as well, right, Lindsay?
To make sure it's up to date, but yes. But there are pictures across from the private dining room in the commons. They're all up to date too.
Yeah, the question was, is there a list of board members? And I do believe that the list of board members is on our website. There's also pictures of folks up across from the private dining room. And then our disclosure statement, we also have all of the contact information, names of everybody that's in that. So the disclosure statement, something we produce every year. It shows all of our agreements and also shows all of our audit financials. It's a big green book, and if you want a copy of it, you can ask the front desk. I just gave one to Norm a couple weeks ago. A lot of information about Rolling Green Village, so that's also in there as well. And it's on the portal. Okay. Any other questions? Gary's going to stick around, so if you want to catch him after I present, you're welcome to do that. Thank you, Gary. So really appreciate Gary, the time that he is here with us. Quite a bit of time, and Gary has stepped up to become the board chair because the last board chair actually became a resident. I don't know if everybody knew that. So our previous board chair decided to become a resident and bought a patio home. So when that occurred, then he rolled off and Gary stepped up. So appreciate Gary's time and commitment to serving and helping us to be a better organization. Spends a lot of time and is extremely supportive, so we're grateful to have him on the board. Wanted to dive into a couple things before we jump into this. The Ollie partnership that Amy was talking about, really proud of Amy and the work that she's done to establish that and to keep it going. At one point they decided to maybe not be here, and Amy really did a great job of re-engaging with them and encouraging them to come out. So when they're here, we try to make it as seamless and simple as possible to make sure that we have that type of offering here, which we think is really important moving forward. So that does bring a little bit of extra traffic. This does bring a little bit of extra fighting for parking spots coming up, so just be aware of that. And then the backpack donations, that's a pretty neat opportunity for us that Judy was talking about. Part of my hope that we can continue to impact the greater community of Greenville and not just focus on us. And I don't know if folks are aware, but that was actually an idea that a resident had been doing out of her house for a number of years. So Rolling Green partnered with her and talked about how we could come together and help support it. because in years past she would do it out of her house, in years past she may lose some money on it, and we felt like that wasn't right. We felt like it was something that met our mission, that we wanted to do something different. So it's been a great partnership, and it was again an idea that started by a resident, and appreciate Judy and the rest of the folks that volunteered to help make that happen this year. And we're hoping that'll continue to be an effort that we partner with folks on to help disadvantaged folks that live in Greenville. So not sure if everybody knew that. It's a pretty neat opportunity. The what Hannah talked about, the Department of Health, that's a pretty big deal. So 3 years in a row we've had surveyors come in, and we have no idea when they're coming. They can come in on a Sunday afternoon like they did the first time it happened to me in 2013, 2014, and that can be extremely stressful. But we're grateful that we're able to have 0 citations. The national average for citations is 9. So every time a surveyor comes in, usually across the country, 9 is the total number. In the state of South Carolina, it's 3.6. So South Carolina nursing homes are doing a little bit better than across the country. But I want to give you that data just as a little bit of perspective, to know that 3 consecutive years we've been doing our part to make sure that people are staying safe. We had a survey team that was not from South Carolina. The Department of Health is struggling a little bit to find survey teams to keep surveyors. So we had folks that were from North Carolina, from Texas, and I think from maybe Alabama that were on the team. But I think it's good when those folks come from different states, they've never been here before, that the impression that they have when they come in, they immerse themselves into the area. They go and talk room to room with residents. They talk to staff and converse with them. They talk to families as well. You just got to get an overall feel of what things are like here and make sure that we're doing the right things. So it's a pretty big deal. I did say usually after 3 straight zeros, the rumor is that the feds come in. And when the feds come in, they're going to find something, and they're going to drop a hammer on you. So they may end up coming, and we probably won't be perfect then. But I do think in general, it's a great, hopefully a peace of mind that you all have, that if you need us, we're doing our part back in rehab. Okay, let's jump into safety update. I've gotten some, resident concerns and resident requests in the months past of what are we doing to make sure that we're keeping and improving safety across our campus, particularly with construction here and just in general. So I wanted to give a couple of items. The parking lots, we're extremely sorry about that. But we learned that there was an underground line that somewhere is damaged out in the village center. So thanks to Skip and some of his work, we were able to finally get a repair crew out, but they weren't that repair crew that works underground. They only work up the pole. So they wrapped a yellow piece of tape around the poles, and it says that there's going to be a repair crew. And we learned from Skip that it takes up to 14 days for that crew to come out. So in light of that, Skip and I collaborated, and we said we can't go dark in this parking lot for 14 days, and there's not much we can do to change. You're at the mercy of Duke, just like you are with the Postal Service, and also with Spectrum, which we're having issues with today. So we did get solar lights. There's two lights out there that we have incurred the cost to rent to make sure that there is some lighting out there, and hopefully that crew comes out, and hopefully it's a simple fix, because it may not be. But we are going to have those out there until Duke's able to repair it. You can go on to the next. The traffic lights, I understand from talking to Skip, they're a little inconsistent. So we know that the Clancy team is working on making sure that they are accurate. So they may pull them for a little bit and they may put in something different. It's still to be determined, but they are actively working on that. So these are temporary traffic lights that they placed out near the construction site when there's vehicles that are moving across the site. They want to make sure that folks know with a sensor when to go and when to stop. So we are continuing to work on that. Another safety item we talked about before, the middle pond, the new sidewalk that we have, a resident request was made to see if we can install a handrail on the sloped area. So recently got feedback from Gray Engineering, and he is recommending about 50 linear feet along that sidewalk where the slope is the steepest. So we will be moving forward with that plan. I don't have a date yet, but we will be installing a handrail in that location again with a focus on safety. And then 2 more items. One, we do have a handful of dead trees that are out sprinkled around along Hoke Smith and also near the middle pond. Those have been tagged and they will be taken down here this week. There's a few that you'll see as you come and go from the campus. So that's a safety issue as well, particularly with these storms coming in the evenings and the high winds that we've had. So that'll be resolved. And then the last one, there's been some resident feedback as well, particularly about accessibility. So in recent weeks, we've finished the installation of buttons to allow better accessibility to some of the bathrooms, but also to an exterior door. So I went and took a picture of these, the 2 bathrooms out here at Village Center. There's now a button that you can push to open that door. Makes it a little bit easier for folks, particularly with walkers and wheelchairs. Downstairs on the terrace level, so close to the Creative Arts Studio, is where the next 2 pictures are from. So there's a restroom next to the Creative Arts Studio that now has those handicap buttons. And then also the door next to the Creative Arts, next to those bathrooms, headed towards the Creative Arts Studio, on the terrace level we call it, that now has a button on the outside. So if you park in the Village Center in this back area, you can walk in to the Commons that way. That door has a button that will make it a little bit easier for you to come in. In months past, it just had this key card. You'd have to pull the door open, but now with that button, it's going to make it a little bit easier for folks that are coming and using that as an entrance. So that's a good thing. Keep moving along. The Middle Pond plantings, want to make sure, I don't know if you, I think it might have skipped the financials. I think it's like, for whatever reason, yeah, I think if you go to the other view, I think it'll come up. So I'll talk to you a little bit about the financials, and Gary hasn't even seen this yet as a board member, so I don't know if he's aware, we share it every single month, so you guys are going to get a chance to see this before the board finance committee meets next week. But we had a really good month of July. We had 95.5% whole house occupancy. So 95.5% of all of the homes or apartments that we have were occupied in the month of July. We do have 8 apartments that are sold and that are going to be moved into within August and September, which is great. 4 of those apartments are 1-bedrooms. Sometimes in the past we've had difficulty finding somebody to fill a 1-bedroom. Most everybody wants 2-bedroom or more. But our sales team has done a great job of working with folks through our wait list to fill those 1-bedrooms, which is great to see. So we'll have about 8 different new residents that'll be joining us through this month and also in the month of September. So the operating revenues have exceeded what our goals have been for the year, and we continue to operate at that level, which is great. On the expense side, we did slightly go over what we had planned for the month by about $52,000. Reasons for that are varied. We do have some open positions which help us on the salary expense side, but there's some other non-salary expenses that came up. We do have audit fees that were booked in the month of July. We also have a little bit more of a management fee that occurred in July because the revenues were higher. There's some ongoing software fees that we have for a lot of our software systems, our computer systems, that we missed on our budget, so that's a little bit higher than we had planned. In the month of July as well, utilities were a little bit higher. It was pretty warm out there. I know I got a big electric bill this month because it was pretty warm in July at my house. Food costs were a little bit higher as well, and then some agency staffing, particularly CNAs in our health center, were a little bit higher than we had budgeted. So those are some of the reasons for the expenses being above. But overall, we did exceed our net operating income goal by about $165,000 in the month of July. So another really good month. All right, coming back over here to the campus improvements, the Middle Pond plantings in the lakeside shoreline. We did have some aquatic plants that were planted. They're hard to see right now. We're not sure if the turtles ate them all, but they are planted in buckets, and we'll see if they maybe revive themselves. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We also did meet, Skip and I did, with Brightview earlier this week and reviewed some of the next steps. There's going to be a lot of weeding that needs to be done out there because there's been a lot that have grown up, the weeds that have grown up through that meadow mixture. And we're also going to be replanting some items that died. This is not the best time of year to plant plants, so we're going to be pulling them, but we'll wait until the fall, until it cools down to replant. So that is going to be a continued work in progress, that location. We feel it's a great improvement, and we will continue to monitor that. It will eventually, the meadow will be cut down. It's likely going to be once a year. Coming up this fall, it will be mowed back, and then we'll continue to monitor it as we move into the spring. The Village Green Courtyard, we've been talking about this for a while. We're really, really close. We did get 3 updated bids. We did get a bid comparison this week from the support of LCS, and we're close to making a final decision. I believe that decision will be made before the end of this month, and we'll have some more information on that to share with you. The Village Center renovations, still waiting for the signage and the door upgrade. Eventually there'll be a new door as you come in, but that is still in progress. The recycling dumpster area, we're waiting on the fence to arrive, so everything else out there is pretty well finished, but a new fence will arrive that will kind of partially enclose that space. And then we were disappointed to hear, we thought that the new equipment would be here on the 7th. Well, come to find out, it shipped and it still takes 8 to 12 more weeks. So the new equipment will eventually be here. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. Next one, the Cummins Front parking lot. I was talking to Skip yesterday. It's probably going to trickle over into September, but we do have a deadline to finish that repatching and sealing and seal coating that space. We definitely need to get that done before our party that we're going to have for the 40th anniversary, October 1st. So somewhere between the end of August and the beginning of September, we'll start on that work. It'll be sectioned off into 3 areas. We will communicate. We'll have a map, and we'll make sure you know. But there will still be access to the parking lot. It's just going to be different while they're doing that work. The next thing I want to talk about, resident committees. I feel within the last maybe 8 months that some of our participation and engagement of residents in the committees has not been the same as we've seen in the past. And my hope is that we can get folks back involved and back engaged. I don't know if that means that people think things are going well and we don't be a part of it. I don't know if that means that people think that maybe it's a waste of their time or it's too much of a commitment, but I don't know. So I'd be happy to hear from you all on what you think maybe the disconnect might be. Within some of the committees, we're struggling to find somebody who will help take notes. We're struggling to find someone who will help lead the committee. We've had a gentleman on one committee for 3 years, been a leader. And we go to the meeting and ask if anybody's willing to step up and volunteer, and you just hear crickets. So most of the meetings are quarterly. They might last an hour. Not a lot of time, but it's up to you. We really do feel strongly that the committees are a great opportunity to connect with our key leaders on campus, for your voice to be heard, and for an emphasis of improving our community through your voice. So really would encourage you to think about that. I've got a list of the committees over here and the folks that are heads of the committee, that if you'd like to take a look and take this sheet with you and then reach out to the folks that are on that committee to see how you might be able to get involved. This is a listing of all the resident committees that we currently have. Keep moving along. Phase 2 update. We are at 112 out of 116 homes that are sold, which is great. So that's above 96%. We have 4 open homes, you could say. Those are going to be the carriage homes, which is that new product that nobody's can wrap their head around quite yet until we have it here. And then we feel strongly that it's going to be successful. So 100% of the apartments and 100% of the cottages are sold today. So the sales team is doing a great job. Keep moving along. Just remind you of our communication plans. So we're having town halls, which we had one last week, executive director meetings, written project plans, which we're sharing in the Around the Corner space. That's our phase 2 communication plan. Continue to do that. Keep moving along. Thank you. Wanted to thank everyone who attended last week. The town hall that we had, the resident town hall, was last Monday, and I think we had some pretty good resident participation and a good opportunity to talk to the folks from Clancy, to talk to the folks from our project development team and hear what's happening, where we're headed, and also any other questions that someone might have. This is a reminder of the site map, the yellow areas being the new spaces that we are constructing, the blue areas being the current spaces that we have. And then remind you of the tentative schedule. We're still targeting for the second quarter of next year for the assisted living cottages to be done, and the third quarter of next year for the G building and the carriage homes to be completed. So within a little over a year, we're going to see people there. Within the last couple of weeks, we've seen the framing get started, which is great. So no more middle of the night construction or concrete pours; those are behind us. At the meeting last week, we also found out that the grading company, the folks that are moving a lot of the dirt, they should hopefully finish by the end of October or beginning of November. So that's not too far off. There was a question also that came about of the big mound of dirt that's out there right now. That all is going to be leveled, before they finish. So just to make sure you know, we're not going to see that big mound of dirt forever and ever, but it is going to be leveled out as we move forward, as they finish up with their work. And then the last thing I want to make sure everybody puts on their calendar is Thursday, October 1st, from 10 to 12 out in the Commons parking lot. Weather permitting, we're going to have a 40th anniversary celebration. So we're excited about that, and we'll get you out some more information as we get closer, but it's already August, and we're only days away. So it's almost September, if you can believe it. I did have a resident question. I got a resident email, skipping up, if you want to grab this. Resident email at 11:24 this morning. I had some questions, so I thought I might answer them. Resident had brought up a concern about the therapy space downstairs, and that we do have a growing number of therapists. We're seeing a lot of Part B therapy usage, so a lot of residents are utilizing our therapy services downstairs. And she asked, with the new staff being hired, is there any plan that we have for making more arrangements for them for office space down there? And right now we don't have any new plans for that. I do think that there's some creative ways they could use that space downstairs. There are multiple offices. I know that Jim has his own office. I think the speech therapist has her own office. And then also there is an area as well. There's seating for maybe five people down there. So we have looked at that space to see how we can reconfigure the space that we have. They also have a kitchen down there that maybe eventually we probably need to get rid of or look differently about. So we are willing to looking at those spaces, but we don't have any plans to expand the space per se. So I just want to share that with you. The dining room question came about the dining room, saying that we are going to be able to handle the extra volume. But what about the kitchen behind the back of the house? Can that handle the increase in volume? And we are continuing to work with a consultant to look at reconfiguring some of our spaces in the kitchen. One of the things that we do know that we need more of is cooler space, as we're trying to go away from stuff that's frozen to stuff that's more fresh. The cooler space is something that we're going to hopefully address soon. We do have the space behind the house, but again, just looking at reconfiguring some of it to be a little bit more efficient for us. We're also looking at that within the dining room. How can we maybe reconfigure some of those spaces? We know that when we have additional residents, we're going to use a hummingbird room every single day. So how can we set up those spaces for success? Because we do feel that we have the space, but we just maybe need to change a little bit of how we interface with that space. So that is a project that we're continuing to work through. And then the last question was that there's been talk of an outdoor swimming pool. That is new to me. So we would like to eventually add a swimming pool, but it wouldn't be outdoors. I guess we do have 3 of them here. The ponds that we have, we consider outdoor swimming pools, but we don't have any plans for an outdoor swimming pool. We would eventually like to do an larger indoor swimming pool, but that's again a future project, but that has been something that's discussed. We also know that wellness is going to be a continued focus for us after we finish phase 2 and some of the amenity spaces. So that's part of our effort and discussion coming up strategically of of how are we going to do that, when would we do that. But anything like that would definitely be years away. We've talked previously, this project kind of started in 2022 maybe, so we're looking at almost 5 years from, you could say incubation to execution. So anything else that would be a little ways out. Those are some resident questions. So wanted to see who else has a question. Skip's got the mic. If you could hold on and wait for Skip to deliver the mic to you, and then you can ask the question.
Yeah, I just have a concern about conference room C and E. The doors are still very tight, and they're not hard for me, but they are hard for residents who have walkers. And there's no way to prop even the new door stops don't do a very good job of holding them open. If you're expecting, for example, if you're holding services in that room and you're expecting a resident that you know is coming, being brought in a wheelchair, you want to leave that door open instead of keep going back and forth. Is there any way to loosen that up or to change it so that residents can have easier access?
That's a good question, and Skip's got the mic there, so he can help me with that.
So you're talking about the meeting room C and E.
Correct.
Okay, there is a firewall that you're looking in front of you, that wall that you see there also that's in front of C, the doorway, and in front of E. So we're not allowed from a code compliance standpoint to put hole opens on those.
Okay.
So what we have to do is we're going to have to look at some options.
Can you loosen the tension enough?
As long as it latches, that's the code requirement. The door has to completely latch. So let's Ryan and I get our heads together, and we can sort of look at some ideas and stuff. But certainly understand what you're saying. Thank you.
It's a good point. Thank you, Priscilla. Next question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But you have automatic door openers on those two doors.
Oh, okay. She's not done yet.
Okay.
But the answer is, let us look into it. I know that they are very expensive, but let us see what our options and stuff are.
Yeah, we can consider that. They're about $5,000 a piece, so it's not something that we can put on every single door. I've had folks ask if we could put on every single interior door, for apartments, but that's not something that we have planned. Next question.
What is the rather unattractive pile of concrete blocks at the Trail Oaks exit?
Yeah, that's a Skip question there. Go ahead.
All right. That is for putting in a slight retaining wall there. If you've noticed, we've got 3 boxes mounted back there. And so we have run a new electrical into there. We've run AT&T fiber into there. And then we're working with Convergent on adding additional camera systems back there to include license plate readers. So we had to put those in, and what we're doing, because that slopes down there, we're going to use the blocks to sort of make about a 2-block wall to level that. And so we'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks. So thank you for your patience, and it's taken longer than we figured, but thank you.
Who has the next question?
Come on now, if you don't have to start asking questions, you'll be like Bob and start getting jokes.
No, I did not bring any bad dad jokes.
One question I have is about parking. On Tuesday, I brought family members who were coming over to have lunch. They had never driven by themselves with my grandchildren. I came over ahead of them. I couldn't find a place to park. On Tuesday, it was parked. I could have left the car home and walked over. But so I had to park down by the craft area. But they don't know that. So they had to park, it was almost back to the drive there, the back drive. Shouldn't Bowling Green residents have priority over parking? I understand that there's some kind of card game that comes in Tuesdays. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get a hold of my grandchildren, so I didn't know whether they'd go to my house or what they would do, and I was pretty upset.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate the question, and Amy's smiling over there. we did recently, for a number of years, Rolling Green permitted a resident, there's a couple residents who had friends that had a bridge group. Twice a month, I believe, on Tuesdays. They're coming here and playing bridge, pretty good size, a pretty good number of them on Tuesdays in the Hummingbird room while that space was empty. But we received a lot of resident feedback and recently visited with them actually this week and talked to them about the fact that we were no longer going to be open to them using that space. We're just growing. There's just a lot more that's happening. So we asked them to pull back that bridge group beginning December 1st. We wanted to give them a little bit of time because they've been using that space, I think, for at least 5 years, Amy, is that right? Probably about 5 years they've been using that twice a month. So we did feel like maybe at a different point in time, 5 years ago, it made sense, but right now with everything that we have happening, how we're seeing a stress on some of our spaces, and particularly on parking, that will be ending December 1st. So I know the residents were disappointed in that because they felt that that they helped to promote Rolling Green through that. But it's a handful of folks, I don't know, maybe 20 or maybe 30 people at times.
About 30.
There's quite a few. So that will be sunsetting beginning December 1st. So, and we will continue to keep an eye on the parking. I can tell you I park one of the furthest spots, from the front entrance. There's always parking out there, but I know it's not preferred parking for people. But there are spots that a little bit further the way you go out, and at times we will have, some of those stressors. I'm sure there's some stressors today. Who has the next question? Over here.
Ryan, you mentioned that Schneider Tree is planning to remove a number of trees that are dead. I counted about 15 or so that are marked, and I probably didn't count them all.
Yeah.
Could you update us on the plans for replacing those that are being removed with new trees?
Okay. I failed to mention that Schneider is not only taking down trees, and Skip can talk a little bit about this. They're actually doing some root fertilization and also some treatment of some trees that we have that have some type of a disease. Is that right, Skip?
Yeah, we've got trouble with disease and also with worms. And so they're coming in here, and they've been here, they were here yesterday, they're here today. And so they're treating those areas. Also in some of the houses behind the cottages, those trees back there where we've done so much work, they're also doing air injections around the root ball systems to loosen the soil up so that it gives those root balls a chance to expand. So we work with Schneider. They're well respected on identifying trees that need to come down, but also they do the deep root fertilization, they do pruning, they take trees down, they do aeration, and they do insecticides and growth inhibitors, growth expansion to help them grow. I'm sorry, that tongue-tied.
So I think to better answer your question, Jim, these trees we don't have a plan to replant in those spaces, but we do still have a partnership with Upstate Trees, and I'm looking at Judy. We engaged them almost probably 2 years ago now, and I think it was close to maybe 60 or 70 trees that we committed to buying from them. I think they've only planted maybe half of that. So they were supposed to come out and plant earlier this spring, but I don't think they got around to it. So we're going to push that to the fall. But there will be additional planting of trees through that partnership with them. I don't know exactly the specific locations, and I can get back to you on that. But that's also a group that Holly with Earth Design has introduced us to, and collaborating with her on those replanting trees. Next question.
Do you know if the trees included are the ones that are on Trail Oaks on the carriage road side? They're full of worms.
Yes.
It does include those.
Yeah, we've got on, they're going through all the trees that are around F building, that are on Oak Smith, along the roads on this end and all. And then if we have some isolated areas we get them and let them address it, evaluate, figure out the best approach to that, yes, but they're coming around and working on all this.
From the commons to Morningside is where they're.
Yeah.
All those trees.
Yeah.
I think that was a call to end the meeting there. So you all don't get stuck in the rain. So it's 4:01. Any other questions before we finish up?
Just a really quick question. I just saw notes from the recent food committee meeting, and it said something about kids' meals are now available for 3 points, but I couldn't find any information on the portal about that, and so maybe it's forthcoming. But I just thought since I was here, I would ask the question and see if anybody knows.
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to that. I don't know if Kathy can.
Yeah, I can as head of the food committee.
Yeah.
For quite a while now, if there have been kids here who have been 10 and under, they have always been able to have a kid's meal at a slightly better point count. And now Claudia has gotten quite cute placemats made up for kids, and there are going to be crayons available with these placemats. And there are 4 or 5 entrees like hot dogs and fries, chicken tenders and fries, types of things that will be available for kids who guests that are under 10. And all you have to do is ask from now on in the dining room, and it will be applied.
Thank you, Kathy. All right. Thank you all for being with us today. And if you have any other individual questions, happy to answer them. So have a good afternoon.